Hello and welcome to the Bikes or Death podcast. My name is Patrick and I'm your host. This is the podcast that talks about bikepacking, adventuring, and the cool people who participate. On today's episode, I sat down with Chuck Campbell, who, if you've never heard of him, that's probably okay because I hadn't either. He's been flying under the radar for the last few years, or the last couple of years, developing a new bikepacking route in the state of Arkansas. And if you've been listening to the episode, you've probably heard me mention it a few times and bring it up when I'm talking to guests. And I definitely spread some misinformation. But luckily we got Chuck here to clear up all my mistakes. So this was a pretty cool meeting too for me because it was the first time that a listener put me in contact with a future guest. So I don't remember his name. Wait, I should have that. I know his Instagram. Here we go. M Bailey 18. Michael Bailey. So it's MBAILE 18 on Instagram. So thanks, Michael. He got me in contact with Chuck, and I met Chuck at a little bar there in Fayetteville. So yeah, it's cool. I've been personally really looking forward to this route. So being able to sit down and talk to the man one-on-one was a fun experience. Also really informative. You know, I've never talked to anybody who has developed a really large route like that, and kind of figuring out how you go about doing that. I think it's great information, and hopefully other people will take it and use that to develop even more routes. More routes, mo better, right? All right. So you knew it would happen eventually. And I'm happy to announce that the Bikes or Death podcast now has its first sponsor. So now the podcast is brought to you by Mother Nature. In Mother Nature, you can have one-on-one interactions with wildlife and your environment. You'll be treated to stunning vistas and sunrises and starry nights. And it's just a great place to reset and reconnect with yourself. It's a great place to get physical and mental health. You just leave Mother Nature and you feel like a whole new person. I personally use Mother Nature at least once a day, but I recommend more, all day, every day, forever. So go to a Mother Nature near you and enter the promo code Bikes or Death for a 10% discount on free smiles. Okay. Very happy to have Mother Nature as our first sponsor. The only problem is she doesn't pay that well. So actually, she doesn't pay at all. So I've got some more news on the Patreon front. We've had a lot of new patrons sign up there, and each one of y'all are very much appreciated. The more I'm compensated for my efforts in the podcast, the more time I'm able to commit and justify, because it's taking away from, family and jobs and that kind of stuff. So anyway, I have 3 tiers on Patreon now. So the first tier is $1. You get a few stickers. I just ordered patches. They're 3-inch patches. It's the same logo that's the sticker. We had an Instagram vote and it won. So we're keeping it OG, the OG logo. And so I just ordered those. So those are going to go to, if you're a $5 and up Patreon, you get a patch. And then there's a $10 level and you get 2 patches. So yeah, if you're interested in getting in on that and continue to support the show, head over to Patreon. It's Bikes or Death. And of course, you can always find me on Instagram at Bikes or Death if you want to follow what's going along. And you know what? If you can't kick in on Patreon, if you would go to iTunes and give it a 5-star. I really appreciate it. I really do want to try to grow this show, and the more people who hear about it and see it and listen to it and support it, the better for everybody. So I love all the community support. Keep sending your love and your messages. They go a long way. Oh, and the last thing I wanted to mention that I decided I was going to start doing was when I'm able, I'm going to let my patrons know who my next guest is and give them opportunities to ask questions, and then I'll ask those on the air. So you're actually going to hear a couple. Oh wait, no, not this episode. But going forward, I recorded one yesterday with a surprise guest, and for that one, so my patrons found out who he was and got to ask some questions, and I did those. So that'll be a few episodes from now, which actually leads me to another item of business. I'm getting to the point where I'm going to try to release one episode every single week. So I'm recording this on Saturday. I think I'll put it out on Monday, and I'll probably just keep that going. I have 3 recorded right now. I'm recording one tomorrow. And then next week, I think I have 1. And then the week after that, I have like 3. So I'm definitely getting like some momentum, and I'm going to try to like just keep that going to be able to produce like weekly content. So yeah, I hope you all appreciate all the effort. It's definitely a result of all the support that I've been getting on the podcast, all the comments and the downloads and the patrons, and just all the messages too. Like the support's been pretty crazy, and it's much appreciated. So if y'all like this show and you want to keep it going, then keep that up, and we'll just we'll make it happen. So all right, that's enough for me. Let's get to the show.
I came in the door, I said it before. I never let the mic magnetize me no more, but it's biting me, inviting me to rhyme. I can't hold it back, I'm looking for the line.
All right, we're sitting down here today with Chuck Campbell, and we are sitting on a patio are we in Fayetteville right now?
We're in Fayetteville.
Okay, and this is, what's this place called?
Apple Blossom.
Apple Blossom.
Yep.
And, oh, nice. Yeah, it's on the glasses, and we're having some nice beers. It's a little bit cloudy, but it was supposed to be rainy, so we'll definitely take that over rainy.
I'm glad that it's not raining right now.
Well, man, thank you so much for meeting up with me. One of my listeners reached out to me on Instagram and saw that I was going to be up in the area. It's like, hey, you need to interview Chuck Campbell. And I said, yeah, I would love to interview Chuck Campbell.
Well, that's cool.
I've been following, not you per se, but the route. And anyone who listens to this show will know that I talk about and refer to the route. I'm like, hey, did you know the ACA is coming out with a new route? And I've been super stoked because we're in the process of moving up here. And so, yeah, more bike packing. I think Arkansas has got the mountain biking on lockdown, it seems like.
It seems like it, yeah.
And so now, you and some other people are coming out with some routes. So it's pretty exciting stuff, and I'm excited to talk to you.
Yeah, the gravel thing is taking off. I mean, nobody'd heard of a gravel bike, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
You couldn't have bought a gravel bike, and now it's a thing. So
it's
pretty
thing.
Cool.
It's its own sport now.
Yeah.
I mean, you got DK, you got Land Run. I mean, those are big events, and
yep.
You got the bikes and all that. So I want to get into the route a little bit later, but first, okay, my perception is that you're kind of under the covers kind of guy. Like, I hadn't ever heard of you. You haven't been like super promoting the route. It's like one day there was just Chuck Campbell's that did a route, and put it out there. So I'd love to kind of get some of your story and how you got into cycling and bike packing.
Okay, man, I've been riding a bike my whole life, all the way from elementary school, going to school and stuff. So biking has always been there. But really, I was a runner for a long time. Pretty serious runner. I was like running at least one race every month. And, really training, trying to get better and trying to not lose strength as I got older. But I broke a bone in my foot when I was, maybe 43, and busted it in 3 pieces. And I kept running on it for 2 years, so it's never going to heal now. So my choice was, well, get on a bike, or maybe when you're 65, you won't be walking anymore. So in my 40s, I got on the bike and started doing that. And then started thinking about doing the Tour Divide because I saw the film, about the Tour Divide.
Yeah.
And really, that was my introduction to bike packing because, I've done a lot of backpacking. I've thru-hiked the Ozark Island Trail, and I've thru-hiked the Ouachita Trail and the Colorado Trail, 500 miles. So the transition from taking the stuff off of my back and putting it onto the bicycle and doing the camping and all of that, it was pretty natural.
Yeah, you and I have a very similar background in that regard. I came with all the outdoor experience.
Yeah.
And whenever I learned about bike packing and watched the same film you watched, I'm like, oh yeah, that's it. That's what I want to do.
It's funny. I've gone camping with some new bike packers, and they don't know how to build a fire.
Yeah.
And they don't know it's like the camping gear is new to them.
Right.
They've been a cyclist all the time, but it's the camping gear that's puzzling them.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. And also learning to go out in the woods and be self-sufficient and not carry all your fears. And we all go through a process of kind of whittling down what we need and what we don't need when we go out on trips.
And finding water.
Oh, finding water.
Yeah, when
That's
you're
a
out
good
there,
one.
they just don't think about that because they think, well, you got to find a spigot if you're going to get
Yeah.
water. No, you got to have your filter, and you camp by a creek, and it's things that I've seen that they don't think about immediately like I do.
Well, that's good to put out there. I was interviewed recently for another podcast, and they asked me to give some tips to beginners that are thinking about getting into it. And one of the things I said was, just you can start in your backyard. I mean, if you don't know how to set up a tent or cook on a little campfire stove or build a fire, just go in your backyard. I've done plenty of that when I'm testing out new gear. So coming to the sport with that background is a huge advantage for sure.
It was a big deal.
So whenever you first got into cycling, was it exclusively gravel riding?
No, really. When I always had a road bike, and so when I was a runner, a lot of times the group that I ran with, we would do one cycling day a week just to rest our legs, because it's a lot different, So I've always had that road bike and been on it. I didn't really get the gravel bike until maybe 2013, something like that. 2014. I bought a Fargo because I was going to do the Divide. Up to that time, I had a mountain bike and I had my road bike, but I hadn't thought of a bike where I could get all the gear attached to it, really.
Wow. So when did you get the Fargo? What year? 2013?
It must have been 14.
Jesus. And you did the Tour Divide in 15?
Well, it was an epic failure, though.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had all kinds of mechanicals.
Well, that's a great story, too.
That I couldn't. Yeah, and that's really where this route came from. It's because I was getting ready to go do the tour, and looking at the map that Adventure Cycling had on their website that showed all of their routes. And I'm looking at Arkansas, and there's this big blank space. It looked to me like we were the only state that had 0 miles with adventure cycling.
Yeah.
It turns out there was another, I think it was maybe Delaware. Had 0. So, here we were with 0 miles, and it honestly got under my skin a little bit. It's like, really, dude, come on. Arkansas is cool. So I started thinking that we ought to have a route in Arkansas. And I thought what it ought to do is it ought to tie together a bunch of cool places. And what I really wanted was 100% gravel, knowing it'd be a lot different than the Tour Divide, but still, something along the same lines. And so I told a buddy about this. I told my wife, talked about it a little bit before I went up to the tour, but I got to Banff for the start of the tour, and I had a buddy there, Mike Dickin, and I told Mike the idea, and he started saying, oh my God, it's got to go here. Oh yeah, and it's got to go there to this place.
Is he from Arkansas too?
Yeah, he grew up in Russellville, and I was a scoutmaster there in Russellville, and he was one of the scouts. He's an Eagle Scout from our troop.
Sweet, so am I.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. That's where I got a lot of my, camping and experience
and that's
from.
where Michael got all of his. Well, I got all mine growing up in Scouts too, but So Michael and I rode together for the first few days, and we kept talking about it, you know, and we'd sit down and eat lunch, and we'd say, yeah, it's got to go here and there. So that was the origin of the idea. And then I finally pulled out at Kremling, Colorado.
How far in is that?
That was 1,700 miles out of the 2,800.
That's a decent chunk.
I felt, you know, I
For your
had done
first event
something.
only?
Yeah,
Man,
my first
come on,
event.
that's amazing.
I had done something, but I didn't. I got to go back.
Yeah, for sure.
You understand, right?
Oh, I understand.
So I'm going back at some point. But anyway,
How
when
did
I
you get
pulled out-
from? Well,
Go ahead.
Just back up. How'd you get from? I'm still curious. You came into it with obviously a lot of athleticism from running.
Yeah.
And you already did a little bit of cycling.
Yeah.
But you were in that space. You learned about bike packing, bought a Fargo, and a year later you're at the Tour Divide.
Yeah.
How did you train for that? What was your training like getting into that?
Well, it was complicated by this fact. A year earlier, in 2013, I spent most of the year lying on my back because I had a blown disc, and I had to have back surgery. I lost about 15 pounds of weight because I couldn't do anything, all muscle that I lost. So I started trying to train that winter, and so I was trying to do weights too because my legs were just nothing. I had lost. I wish I'd have measured my legs before the back injury because by the time that I got up and got on my bike again, my legs were like toothpicks. So I started training, doing weights, but it wasn't enough. I was not ready. My body was just not ready for it, and it beat me up.
How much training on the bike did you do?
How much training?
Yeah, on the bike, yeah.
I was trying to do like 100 to 120 miles a week, and I wasn't getting enough in. And I went on a few bike packing trips, and I felt good about my gear because it was my backpacking gear. I just pulled it over and stuck it into my new bags for the bike. So I felt good about all of that. But in retrospect, I see now that I didn't spend enough time getting the bicycle dialed in. And I didn't spend enough time understanding how to do the kind of repairs that I needed to do while I was out there in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Because I'd always just taken it to the bike shop and they fix anything, you know? And
that's my club.
Oh,
That's
man,
where
yeah. And so not being able to get it to, you know, I can just turn the dial here and I can get the cable tuned up, right? No. It was tearing me up. So.
Is that what did you in?
Yeah, and I broke a derailleur hanger.
Yeah.
Well, I had a spare one. My mechanic had said, man, you got to carry a spare one.
Smart.
So, but then I couldn't get it off of the derailleur. Well, a truck happened by and picked me up, took me into Kremling and said, we got a bike shop. And I roll in, and this dude is like fixing Huffy bikes for kids in town. Yeah. And I thought, oh, man. So he tries to get the hanger off the derailleur, you know, the half hanger. And he ends up stripping it out because he was using an Allen and it was a star.
Oh, no.
And so he stripped out the bolt, and it's inside that little pocket that you're reaching into. So I spent an hour or two trying to get it out myself, couldn't get it loose. He didn't have a derailleur. I thought, well, you know, I could hook it up single speed and ride the rest of the way to Breckenridge and get him to fix it there, or Frisco, Colorado. But the whole trip had just been snake bit. And I was just...
Have you ever...
I finally decided, that's it, pulling the plug. Do you have a box? He had a box. Boxed my bicycle up and got on a Greyhound bus.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, it's still a major accomplishment, and I genuinely believe that no trip is a failure if you're learning something from that experience.
Yeah.
And there's no way you didn't ride 1,700 miles of the Tour Divide and not come away with a wealth of knowledge that you now have at your disposal. So it's only going to make you a better rider going forward.
Oh, it did. You know.
I'm sure you've been using it actually on the. Is it the High Country Route? Is that what the route is called?
It's called the Arkansas High Country Route.
Arkansas High Country Route. Yeah,
Yep.
I realized we were talking about it, and I don't even think we said what the name was, so I wanted to throw that in there.
We wanted to not confuse it with the Ozark Highlands Trail.
Okay.
So we named it the High Country instead of Highlands.
Where does that name come from?
Well, it really comes from my schooling. I'm an environmental science teacher.
Okay.
My first job as a teacher out of college was to teach for a program that was called Project Land, Learn Arkansas's Natural Divisions. So when you look at the state of Arkansas, you can divide us up into the highlands and the lowlands. And then there's 3 natural divisions in the lowlands. That would be the Delta, Coastal Plain, Crowley's Ridge. And in the highlands, we have the Ozarks, where we're sitting right now, the Ouachitas, and the Arkansas River Valley. So that concept is just buried in my head, you know? That's the way I see the state, is the highlands and the lowlands.
Makes sense.
And then looking at those 3 natural divisions. So when Michael and I were talking about where should the route go, we just kept thinking, well, why don't we just try to do it just in the Ouachitas and the Ozarks, River Valley? Then maybe someday we'll look at the lowlands and put one together for that.
Oh, cool, yeah. So you do different segments.
So that's where the name came from.
I like that idea. That's a great idea.
Just for the 3 highland natural divisions of the state of Arkansas.
Yeah. So for people who have never been to Arkansas, what can they expect to see? I mean, it's nice to say Ozark and the Ouachitas, but yeah, what's the elevation like? What's the geology like and the topography, all that? What are they going to expect if they come and ride your route?
Joe Jacobs works for the Arkansas Parks and Tourism, and he has a perfect description for it. He was trying to tell some folks from Wyoming what to expect here. And he said, well, our mountains are not that high, but the valleys are real low. So, you know, you would look at Mount Magazine, which is, just under 2,800 feet in elevation, and you would think, you know, it's not even 3,000 feet. It's not a mountain. But then when you consider the fact that you don't have to travel very many miles, and you're at 300-foot elevation, and, you know, you start looking at the steepness. All right, so maybe it's not a Colorado climb where you're going to climb 10,000 feet from bottom to top. Mm-hmm. But my experience in riding the climbs on the Tour Divide are that the climbs here in Arkansas, some of them are just as challenging. I think of Cave Mountain over on the Buffalo River. And,
beautiful area, by the way.
And I just climbed. I rode Poteau Mountain the beginning of this week. I was riding up Poteau Mountain, and Rebecca Rush. You know, I was over there. Rebecca's doing the route, and Rebecca.
Yeah, we'll
was
talk about
riding
that in a little bit.
When she came off of Poteau Mountain, here's what she said: "That's legit." So, I guess
that made you smile as a route creator. Huh?
Those 2 descriptions, you know, Joe Jacobs. Well, the mountains are not real high, but the valleys go
low.
very low.
Yeah.
And for Rebecca Rush to say that's legit.
Yeah.
You know.
That's a badge of honor.
It is.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But the Ouachitas are east-west running ridges. So as long as you're running east-west, you're either on top of a ridge or down in the valley. As soon as you turn north or south, it's going to be like straight up a ridge and then straight down the other side.
Yeah.
That's where the challenges are.
And from what I've seen, it's all tons of trees.
Yeah.
Lots of rocks. The terrain is like super rocky.
Yeah.
And lots of water. Like those are the 3 things that kind of stand out to me. I mean, it's a beautiful area. And also, you know, I mean, talking about the elevation, it's only maybe goes up to about 3,000 feet. But one of the nice things about that is that, well, me coming from Texas at no elevation, I still feel like that's a little bit more doable than Colorado, which I've done, and I suffered greatly. but guys from Colorado can come down whenever it's snowing.
Exactly.
And they can come down here and ride. So
exactly.
there's a lot of appeal to that.
We've got all year riding down here. That's a great thing about this.
Yeah. And the rock is one of the things that contributes to that. Right? I mean, you tell me, but I'm an outsider. But it rained yesterday, or 2 days ago, I should say. Rained all day, and then I let the trails dry for about an hour, and then I went on a ride, and they're wet, but you're just riding on rock, and if there's dirt, it's just dirt on top of rock. So you can pretty much ride wet, cold, year round, it seems like.
Yeah, and exactly. And you might find some roads that are worse than others, you know, spots of clay that are just almost like you would find in that infamous creek crossing in the Dirty Kansas where, you know,
Yeah.
anybody who's not smart enough to pick up their bike and carry it through there is going to be trying to get red clay off their bike for the next 10 miles, you know.
Yeah.
So there's
Or
spots
next 10
like that.
days.
But, next 10 days. But you can go around those or pick up your bike if it's been really raining.
Yeah. So when did you decide to like bring this to the ACA?
As soon as
how
I
did
got
you-
home from Kremling.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I got home, and I know it was within 2 weeks. I just called,
Yeah.
and I said, you know, I guess I got somebody at the front desk, and told them I have an idea for a route, and the girl was like, well, okay, let me patch you over to Carla. So she patched me over to Carla, and then Carla was just as, you know, cautious. She's on the other end going, well, you know.
Yeah. How many calls like that do they get a day?
No kidding.
You know?
But what kind of an idiot am I to think that I could call up Adventure Cycling and they might do my route? You
A
know?
perfect idiot.
It was
It
pretty
turns
funny.
out you were the perfect idiot to do it.
It does. It does. So, yeah, I called them, and Carla said, well, I don't know. It's kind of a – what I first said was, hey, I'm from Arkansas. Where's the love? And she just died laughing. She said, I know, because they were aware of it. And she said, well, do you have an idea? I said, yeah, I got a big idea. So she said, well, get a state highway map and mark it out and send it to me. And I said, well, you realize that it's going to be mostly off of the state highways. And she said, yeah, that's cool. You know, we'll look where it goes and send it to her. And then another funny thing, when we're talking about the name, I said, I want to call it the Highland Route, Arkansas Highland. Or at that time, that's what we were thinking about, Arkansas Highland.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, did Arkansas really have any high land? So reference our previous conversation, right?
Right.
But anyway, I sent that to her I rode the Divide in 2015. And then that winter, might have been early spring, one of their cartographers was coming through the area. And so they said, well, we got this guy coming through, and so what if he just stops and talks with you and you show him everything that you've got? And so he did. He stopped in, and I had him sold that night. I mean, he was a believer. The dude's name is Travis Switzer.
Yeah. Did he ride part of the route with y'all, or did y'all drive it? Or
We didn't get to ride part of the route because he got stuck in a snowstorm in the Midwest when he was trying to get here.
Oh.
So we ended up just spending one night at our house, and we actually rode some single track
Okay.
the next day that's not on the route. But just laying it out on the kitchen table and him looking at all the maps, I just had a Delorme gazetteer, you know,
Uh-huh.
and I had it all marked in there with a highlighter. And we were just turning pages, and I was showing him all the cool spots. So he went home, or he went back to Montana and Missoula and told them about it, and he became that advocate, you know.
Yeah.
So they said, well, put together a PowerPoint and send it to us, and then we want to have a conference call. And so we did that, and then Travis put together a blog spot to put it on Adventure Cycling's webpage, and that's when it blew up. They said, we're just going to put it out there and see if there's any interest.
Yeah.
And the Arkansas people just went crazy.
I went crazy. I remember.
Do you remember the blog spot?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that was what made all of this happen. And next thing I know, there's some dude with State Parks and Tourism who's wanting to friend me on Facebook. And then
Arkansas State Parks and Tourism.
Arkansas State Parks and Tourism. And then a dude with the Walton Family Foundation who wants to friend me on Facebook.
Yeah.
And so, you know, those guys got involved, and they contacted Adventure Cycling directly and said, we like this idea. We'd like for it to happen. And really, that's what made it happen.
And then they put their money where their mouth was.
Yeah, the Walton Family Foundation threw down $100,000, which was, you know, that was half of the funding to produce the maps. You know, it was really funny. When talking about money, and they were finally we got ready to map it, and Carla said, well, we can't pay you much. And I said, you're going to pay me? So when I got out and started doing the mapping and running around Arkansas with a GPS unit in my hand, they actually paid me a little money. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, so in the summer I got to do that. And being a teacher, I just didn't do other work that summer. I just went and worked for ACA.
That.
Yeah.
Man,
cool.
that's so cool. And it's so cool that the Walton Foundation and the state of Arkansas reached out to you, reached out to ACA, put some money into it, and said, let's make this thing happen.
Those guys made it happen, no doubt.
How cool is that? I mean, how cool that's who else, like, where else is that going on right now in the United States?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on in other places, but here in Arkansas it's pretty crazy, you know.
How have you seen, how long have you been here? And how have you seen it grown?
I've been here for 56 years.
There you go. So, I mean, how long has this been going on? Because now I feel like everybody knows Northwest Arkansas for the mountain biking. Yeah. I think now they're going to start knowing it for the bike packing as well. Yeah. Hopefully, right? And
I don't know. It feels to me like I know it's within the last 10 years. It's got to be. At least that's what it feels like. I think they started developing stuff up here maybe a little earlier.
Well, that's interesting because I told you when we first sat down that Arkansas first got on my map 10 years ago as a place I was interested in visiting and riding bikes and just getting outdoors. I mean, it's called the natural state, right? Yeah. And there's just so much natural beauty here. Yeah. And it just lends itself to cycling or any kind of outdoor activity, really. Yeah. But you have a state and an organization with the Waltons who recognize the economic value of building this type of infrastructure so that people will want to come here. They'll want to come visit, spend their tourism dollars, or they'll want to come and live here, which is what my wife and I just bought land here right off the Blowing Springs Loop in Bella Vista. Like, you know, we're a product of the effort that they're putting into the community. Actually,
Arkansas cities are waking up to that. You know, I mean, Little Rock, and in my mind, this route had to start and finish in Little Rock. You know, because that's the capital. I know some of the guys in the Walton Family Foundation said it's got to start in Bentonville. You know? And I'm cool with them thinking that, but in my mind, you know, there's Little Rock. There it is. It's the center of the state. It's the capital, and a lot of folks up here, or at least some folks up here, don't understand or haven't seen everything they're doing at Little Rock. You can get on the north side of the river in Little Rock, over there in North Little Rock, and you ought to see that route, the pedestrian and cyclist route, and you ought to see the number of people that are using it. It rivals what's going on up here with the Greenway, and they're still completing it on the south side of the river. It's more complicated because there's a lot more development right on the river. So all of the private landowners are getting, you know, they're getting the buy-in though. You know, folks are giving them easements to, go ahead and take that across my land. And part of the reason is those folks are realizing the economic impact of building this kind of infrastructure where people will get on their bike, ride down through there, stop and have lunch. Mm-hmm. You know, you're going to encourage restaurants. You're going to bring in more bike shops. You're going to encourage small businesses that might be selling groceries that you can carry home in a bike bag, that kind of stuff.
Yesterday we rode our bikes on the Greenway from Bella Vista, where we're staying, to it's 6-7 miles into downtown Bentonville. Yeah. Had some beers, had some pizza. Yep. We were at the Bentonville Film Festival and watched some of their goings-ons down there, and then we hit some of the best single track I've ever ridden on the way home, and it's just right next to the.
Did you do Slaughter Pen?
We didn't hit Slaughter Pen. Okay. I'm gonna hit Slaughter Pen before I leave, but actually the guy I was riding with got a flat. Oh. Thomas, getting flats. Had to do that. But yeah, so we didn't quite make it to Slaughter Pen before he flatted. So, but anyway, I mean it's world-class trails right next to a world-class bike path. Yeah. And you can, I don't know, it's unlike anywhere I've ever been. It's like a cyclist paradise. Yeah, it is up here, and I'm glad that my hometown of Russellville is doing some stuff, and it, you know, it goes back to that old thing about you
you build it and they'll come, from the old baseball
Yeah.
movie. If you stay, we're not going to build the bicycle infrastructure because nobody rides a bike. You're thinking backwards, As soon as you get it built, then that's going to encourage folks to get on their bikes. And Russellville is seeing that. The city fathers are seeing it. Building multi-use ways of moving around the city. So we're seeing a lot of runners now. And, running had died out after the 70s. It seemed to me. I mean, didn't see nearly as many people out there running. But two things. Russellville's built the infrastructure where folks can run, and they can feel safe doing it. And
Safety.
then we have a big half marathon in town now. And so lots of people train for that half marathon. That can't do anything except improve the health and the happiness of the people who live in Russellville.
100%. Yeah.
Another example, my son lives in Seattle. You know why he lives in Seattle? He can get on his bicycle. He can roll down to the bus stop, put his bike on the front of the bus, go anywhere he wants to any of the parks, take his bicycle off, and ride anywhere that he wants,
Yeah.
So old people like me have to start thinking like, what do 25, 30-year-old people want in a city if we want to bring those people into our city? That's our future.
Yeah.
So
That's a great perspective.
it all fits together.
It does. I'm so glad that people are seeing that, and that I was thinking while you were talking, have you heard that the Waltons are using their work here in Arkansas, and they're taking that to other states now?
I've seen some of that,
I
on
can't
some
remember
of their posts.
I
on
can't remember
Facebook.
their exact dollars, but
Yeah.
basically they've started a grant to where anyone in any state can bring them a route, anything, bike related, trail related, and bring them something, and they will potentially, if they like the idea, they will help work
Cool.
with the city to implement these types of things all over.
Yep.
And they're using, Arkansas was just the beta. I mean, they're only getting started. This is their blueprint for what they want the United States of America to look like. From my perspective, looking in, like, they're like, look, here's proof of concept.
Yeah.
Here's how you grow the economy. Here's how you have healthy citizens. Here's how you have happy people.
Yeah.
Here's how you reduce all the traffic and
Yep.
and promote tourism and all the things that we're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're doing a lot too. They're giving grants to schools I know about. We better talk to Gary and make sure we're getting all this right. But they're giving grants to schools, especially poverty schools, to get bicycles for their PE programs.
Yeah.
Bicycles and helmets, and coming
no-brainer.
down and helping to build bike courses so that kids can get on a good bike, put a helmet on their head, learn how to ride that bike, teach them how to ride on the neighborhood roads safely, and then cut them loose. You know, I think it's great.
it's wonderful. I mean, it's a no-brainer too.
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't talk about, but just driving around, there's so many, like if there's a park, from what I've seen, if there's a park, there's usually like a pump track,
Yeah.
or, some jumps, or,
Yeah.
And some of them are huge, some of them are little, but I mean, they're just so bought into like the family. Yeah, not just everyone,
Yeah.
whether you're a kid or you're an
Yeah.
adult or you're a family or whatever it is, there's something for you here to get on a bike and go enjoy it.
Yep. There's plans for a pump track in Russellville. So,
Nice.
yeah, it's going to be cool.
I'm not surprised by it anymore.
Yeah.
I used to be like, what are they doing now? What are they doing now? Now
Yeah.
I'm just like, yep, that's what they do. That's just what they do up here.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing to be known for.
Yeah, it is cool.
All right. So I'm going to throw this out there real quick. I am so stoked on the whole Arkansas thing.
Yeah.
That I was worried that my listeners of my podcast would be like, dude, this guy won't shut up about Arkansas. So I didn't even tell you this, but this is actually going to be my first episode of a new podcast I'm starting, and I don't even know what it's named yet. I have it on Instagram as Arkansas Bikepacking. That's it. So,
Okay.
But I'm gonna release this on my regular podcast, but I'm also gonna start one just talking about Arkansas and everything they have going on here, because I just feel like I'm gonna talk about it so much, everybody else is gonna get sick of hearing about it.
You gotta hook up with Brandon Pack. He just created a group on Facebook called Arkansas Bikepacking.
Great. Brandon Pack and I are meeting in 3 weeks.
All right.
He and I had a great conversation. He also just put out a route, or is about to release a route.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you that he was very intentional about wanting me to interview you first.
Oh, really?
And make sure that there was like separation between both of those interviews, in which I completely agree. You know, he definitely gave you a lot of credit for your work, and wanted to make sure that you got your moment in the whatever this is, my moment,
about
your
30
moment.
seconds of fame or whatever.
Yeah, you're all the fame I can provide. That's what you're gonna get.
Brandon is, and he works for the International Mountain Bike Association.
Right.
I think maybe he's regional director or something like that.
Something.
Yeah.
He told me. I mean, he's in charge of some stuff and making sure all those trails get built, and hiring rock solid to go out there and build them.
He's a cat herder is what he is. All of these people
yeah.
are running around doing stuff, and then he's there trying to make sure that they're all on the same page.
Good. Yeah, I'm excited to talk to him. But yeah, it's just a great example of how much is going on here. Like, we had Rebecca Rush here.
Yeah.
And then yesterday we also have Lael Wilcox.
Yeah, I heard that she was in town.
She's in town. I actually reached out to her like 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
And we're going to do an interview tonight.
Tell her that she needs to ride my race.
I'm going to tell her.
I sent her a Facebook message, and
how wild
she
is
said,
that?
maybe another year. But, it's at the same time as the Tour Divide. But I gotta lure her away once.
Okay.
For the she can win a beautiful belt buckle.
Oh, we got a belt buckle.
A belt buckle. That's the finisher. That's the winner's belt buckle for this year, and a custom-made belt.
Oh, Lael, you want this?
Yeah, with Razorbacks on it.
You're not going to get that anywhere else.
That's right. The only way to get it. In fact, one of the folks that's with Rebecca said, "Ooh, you going to get Rebecca a buckle?" I said, "If she comes and wins the race." So
I love it.
Maybe she'll come and win it, and we'll get her a
So the
buckle.
only person that gets a buckle is the winner.
No, what we're going to do is we're going to have
I want a buckle right now. Do I get a buckle for this interview?
Absolutely not. We're going to have the male winner gets a buckle, the
Right.
female winner gets a buckle, and then we're going to have a third one that is going to be raffled off to a lucky finisher.
Oh, cool.
So we're going to have 3 buckles and belts. The custom belts go with it too. So after you finish, you have to contact Flying Possum Leather in Fayetteville.
Give
and
me your
they'll
sizes.
that's right. Got to get the size. They'll make the belt and mail it to you. So
That is cool. I love it. I love it. I love the buckles. All right, so let's talk about the route.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you created it, so tell us everything you want to tell us about the route, everything you want to put out there. You're talking to a bunch of bikepacking nerds right now.
I know, and you're not going to get me to shut up at this point. Like I said, it's just trying to pull together the beautiful spots, Everybody in Little Rock knows about, they call it Lake Sylvia area.
I know.
So out west of town, there's just tons of beautiful gravel. There's a wilderness area out there. The Flatside Wilderness is there, and so we ride right along the edge of it. For those folks who are not going to be racing, there's so much stuff that's close to the route where you ride up to the trailhead for the Flatside Pinnacle, lock your bike to the tree, you better, because we know your experience. And then you get to hike up. It's only a half mile, and you get this beautiful view of the wilderness area. And that's not even 30 miles from what I consider the origin of the route, which is Little Rock,
So it's just getting started on the route.
Just getting started. And then
You should do something for your race. Like, if you go to the top and take a picture, it's like you get like a
we have mandatory selfies.
You do?
We do. We have mandatory selfies
it.
along the way. And the people who are going to race slower, they don't mind. The folks who are really wanting to haul tail across it,
I love
some
that
of those
idea.
look at what Rebecca's doing right now. We'll go ahead and talk about that. Look what
Yeah,
she's
let's
doing
talk
right
about
now.
it.
How many people are following her dot?
What is she doing right now? For people who
she's
don't know?
right. She's setting the first completion of the route. So fastest known time, right? But really, this is the first time anybody's ridden it from beginning to end. I haven't ridden it from beginning to end.
Okay.
So she's going to ride the whole perimeter anyway, and that's what the race is going to follow, and setting that first known time, and certainly the fastest. So
I wonder how long that'll hold up, because the weather
Yeah.
that y'all have had while she's been trying to do this has not been great.
no,
And
it's
you were
not.
out there riding with her, so yeah. Why
I
don't
got
tell us how that was. It'd be neat to hear about how the route was like through her eyes as
But she's a world-class athlete,
world-class athlete. Yeah, what was she?
and
going
I'm a
through?
redneck from Arkansas
There you go.
who's
Two
56 years
peas
old.
two peas in a pod.
So, yeah, it was a great experience to get to do that, and I'm not really a famous person worshiper, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she knows that, and she was cool with it. She was even talking crap after I rode with her some, which was really cool, because
Yeah.
that gives me permission to talk crap too. But
Yeah.
she was just cool. She was down to earth. I could ride her pace for about 50 miles. She rode it for 140 miles that day
Wow.
over some unbelievable mountains.
What kind of pace is that?
She, I was riding 14 miles an hour for about the first 20 miles. And that was because we started with a big downhill, and then we didn't have very many big climbs going across there. And then by the time we climbed Poto Mountain, just to get to the top of it, my average had dropped to 12 miles an hour. And then by the time I got to the end of Poto Mountain, it's like a roller coaster. This is for Allie Mabry. It's a roller coaster of love. So after that roller coaster across there, my average had dropped down to about 11 miles an hour. I think, we'd have to check with Rebecca, I think she's averaging for the whole thing just over 10 or 11 miles an hour for this whole thing.
Including stops? Or is that just ride time?
I think that's just ride time.
Okay.
But we'd have to check with her
Yeah.
and see.
Oh, we'll definitely be following up. I mean, she's, what, about halfway through right now?
Well,
or?
she's coming into this area pretty quick. She was on the Mulberry River last night, and she's headed up to the Greenway. She ought to be hitting the south end of Fayetteville any minute now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and coming right up the Greenway. She'll go right down there's the Lake Fayetteville Dam, right below where we're sitting.
Okay.
She'll be going across that at some point here pretty soon.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll check her dot.
Yeah. Whenever we get off, we'll check our data. Maybe we'll go
Yeah,
say hi.
that's right.
That would be cool. So what is what's her you said that she got to the top of that climb and was like, oh, that's legit.
Yeah.
What about her reaction to the natural beauty of the state?
Well, she, because she's a Westerner.
Yeah.
She wasn't born out there, but she's lived out there for so long, and she was talking about the green, and that folks who come from the West, that's always one of the first things. Oh my gosh, look at this green. Look at how thick it is. The thing that she commented on most is how nice the people are.
Yes.
And how helpful the people have been to her. She's riding tubeless and tore up a tire. You got to check out her Facebook page to see all this in her Instagram. She's in the middle of nowhere. She rolls into a tire store that fixes car tires. Really, they fix truck tires.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's a logging community down at Hatfield, and these guys booted her tire for her with a boot for an auto tire, and then she tubed it up and kept going.
Right on.
But she was just talking about how cool those people were, and how nice they were, and how interested they were in what she's doing, and just how kind they've been to her, all the kindnesses. So
I've noticed. I'm from Texas, where I thought, and people are nice in Texas. They're
Yeah.
very hospitable, very southern. But you come to Arkansas, and it's like turned up to 100.
yeah,
When I actually tore a tire on a trail, and someone on a bike stopped to help me out, and then people were coming out of their backyard, and
Yeah.
they were like, "Hey man, do you need any help down there?" And,
Exactly.
Everywhere you go, people are just like super friendly and helpful.
even if you're in a race, some dude is going to stop and say, "Dude, you got everything?"
Yeah, for sure. I have no doubt.
Yeah.
I'm glad she noticed that too. I've been blown away by just how friendly everybody is and willing to help you out, and it seems like a good community.
Yeah.
Honestly,
It is.
Yeah.
Good people.
Yeah, Man, I love that about it. So, yeah, I get what she's saying about the green. Green.
Where are you in Texas?
I'm in College Station.
Okay.
So it's, are you familiar with that? It's in between Dallas, Austin, and Houston. It's
Yeah.
kind of smack dab central Texas a little bit.
So you're not out there at the Austin where it's really dry, but
No. Austin is only about an hour and a half from me, so
Okay.
it's not too far. We go to Austin quite a bit to do mostly mountain biking out there.
Yeah.
A lot of great and really rocky. Austin is what has kind of prepared me for riding in Arkansas. 'Cause a lot of people,
Okay.
they just come from
Yeah.
clay dirt, or they get out here, and it's a little bit different to ride single track whenever all the rocks are just sliding around.
Yeah.
And, and then you got big boulders too jetting out and doing a climb on some big rocks. It just takes learning. Roots. Yeah. Oh man, when it rains here,
the roots will take you out.
and the rocks too.
Yeah.
I
They
haven't
get
taken
slick.
out yet, but I'm expected to. Because here's the thing about the trails here. They're so well designed. Like, you have these nice, talking about single track now, but you have these nice, like, climbs. And then without as much effort as you think that you put in, you are sent on a downhill that just keeps on going and
Yeah.
going and going. And the speed keeps increasing. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're like at like, oh shit speed. And you didn't even, it's like, it just happens.
Yeah.
You're like, whoa, okay. It's fun. It's a
I
lot
want to
of
go
fun.
back and talk about the route again.
Yeah.
We rolled through Hot Springs. You gotta do Hot Springs, the home of the first baseball spring training. Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Really, the first ever.
Yeah, and
in
Babe
history.
Ruth went down there for spring training
Okay.
when he was still with the Red Sox, and the Gangsters and all that. So I had to go through Hot Springs, and then Mount Ida. They call themselves the crystal capital of the world for their quartz crystals.
I've been there.
And
we went.
Love it, yeah. So you got the Lovett Trail connecting those two cities.
Is that
and then
on
you
your
got
route?
Womble. What we did is we wanted to give a shout out to IMBA for the IMBA Epic routes. So we decided that we would put in a single track option for this route. So this route is a gravel route, but if you're crazy, you can get a full-on mountain bike, and you can ride the Lovett Trail. And the Womble's not very far away, so you could make a big loop out of this route. Just using this route, you could ride the Lovett, you could ride a good portion of the Womble, and then you could come back on our gravel roads for the high country route and get back to your car at Hot Springs.
Okay. Yeah, so you would like ride out on your route and
Yeah.
then do a lap of the Womble,
Yeah.
Lovett and Womble, and then just come back.
And then come right back.
Yeah.
Make it
Yeah.
a big loop.
Okay, cool.
And then Albert Pike area. Lots of Arkansasians don't even know about Albert Pike. It was almost a national park, the whole region down there. Congress and Senate both approved it, and Calvin Coolidge pocket vetoed the thing the day he was walking out of the office.
Bastard.
Yeah, it was going to, well, I don't know, because if it is a national park,
Okay.
now it's a national forest, so
Right.
nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
But we took it right through there. And then Mena, Queen Wilhelmina State Park, oh my God, is so beautiful. If the earth were not curved, you could see the Gulf of Mexico. Because you're 20, it's the second highest mountain, so it's 2,700 feet. And you look south and it seems like you can just see forever because there's only a few ridges between you and Texas,
That's pretty neat actually here, because with all the trees that you have, you get to a high peak, and
Yeah.
a lot of times it's just trees,
Yeah.
right? So that's probably pretty special in Arkansas to have that kind of vista.
It is, and the
'Cause you're not
lodge
gonna
up
give
there is
above
beautiful.
the tree line
No,
here.
no, you're not. But then connecting that with Mount Magazine, which is the highest mountain in the state, and another state park and another beautiful lodge, wanted to connect those, and we did it by going across Poteau Mountain, which is it's like top 5 in height, but it's, like I said before, it's a roller coaster, and it's a mountain that you've got to go and experience, and very few people do. It's just a really cool place. I took it through Russellville because that's where I am. I mean,
to.
it's my freaking route, right? And we
Yeah.
had to cross the river somewhere.
Love that attitude. It's my podcast. It's your route. We can do whatever we want to do.
So we crossed at Russellville to come through my hometown. The other places where we would possibly have crossed didn't have a bike shop. So coming through Russellville, we got a bike shop on the route, another bike shop on the route. But the Mulberry River, God, it's beautiful. And decided to take it on pavement because the place is just, you don't want to miss the Mulberry. So instead of the gravel, we just took it straight down the Mulberry on the highway that follows it.
Yeah.
It's just spectacular.
What's the percentage of gravel to pavement on
It's
this route?
50-50.
50-50.
Yeah. And
Because
that,
you originally you said you wanted it to be all gravel.
I wanted it to be all gravel.
So
It just
what-
wasn't doable.
Okay. Why?
Because, well, here's my joke. Because county judges in Arkansas get reelected by paving somebody's road. There's so many roads that, 10, 15 years ago, I would go out and drive them, and they were gravel,
Yeah.
and they're getting paved. Honestly, for counties, it's what I've been told by folks who work for Pope County is that it's cheaper to maintain that chip seal pavement than it
Yeah.
is to dump a load of gravel and have to spread it after every rain.
Right.
So they throw down the money once, they pave it or chip seal it, and so it's cheaper. So economically, I can see why they want to do it. It's just a bummer for gravel riders,
Yeah, I love gravel. A lot of the reason I love gravel, and we all do, I think, is because you associate gravel with remoteness, right? Less houses, less people, just like getting out there. So, I guess a better question is like, how is the remoteness, regardless of the roads that you're on, whether they're paved or gravel? Yeah, how remote are you on a lot of the route?
When I rode 90 miles on Thursday, was it Thursday I rode? Yeah, I rode 90 miles
I don't
on
even know what
Thursday
today
of
is.
the route.
Today's Saturday, I think.
And I saw 2 cars while I was on the dirt roads, 90 miles. When I was on a highway, which was not a very long stretch, I think I saw like 7 or 8 cars. So riding 90 miles the whole day, and even the ones that are paved back roads, like I'm thinking Crystal Springs area, just south of there. Even though it's paved, the traffic is so light, and it is. It's very remote. You better have your water bottles filled up and or have a good
For dogs.
filter. Yeah. Well, yeah, Rebecca's she's got some great pictures with dogs chasing her.
I wanted to ask about the dogs.
Yeah.
That's my my wife's biggest fear when
Yeah.
riding. So
I've not encountered any dogs I can't discourage with a water bottle. Just
There you go.
squirt them in the nose and I start talking to them before they get off the porch. As soon as I see them, I start talking to them. And even the dog that chased Rebecca was just doing his job. His job is to make sure nobody comes up to the house and invades it. And so he was dutiful and chased Rebecca down the road for a little bit. Buffalo River, man. We hit the Buffalo River 3 or 4 times
yeah,
on the route. Yeah, I mean, it's the nation's first national river.
a national river.
Yeah, it was declared the first national river, so it entered into the national park system, but as
I
a
did not
national
know
river.
that.
Yeah.
When was that?
Oh, it was in the 70s, and the reason was the Corps of Engineers in the 60s, they were mandated to build dams, and the Buffalo had a couple of dams slated to be built, and so a bunch of Arkansasians got together. Neil Compton, if you're up in Bentonville, Compton Gardens that are up there, that's Dr. Compton's old house. Ken Smith, who's still running around here in Fayetteville, those guys got together and formed the Ozark Society, and they kept the dams from being built. Yeah, no kidding.
I just got to give a round of applause real quick.
The federal
Thank you to
response.
those guys, and thanks for bringing that up.
No kidding. Ken Smith, you ought to interview him. I don't know that he bikes, but man, what a cool guy.
I'm really big on the whole environmental and just the natural aspect of the sport.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, we're bike packing, but why are we bike packing, and where are we bike packing? So we need to be advocates and aware of these resources that we have, and we need to fight for them. And so, I definitely would talk to somebody who was in
He
that.
laid out the trail, the Buffalo River Trail. Have you ever walked any of it?
I haven't. Yeah.
He laid it out and did, and he's, gosh, he's got to be 100 years old now. Sorry, Ken, but he's still going out with trail crews. I took a bunch of my students out to help build trail because they got to meet Ken Smith. So I took his book, which was used as propaganda, to send to Washington, D.C. to say, look, here's the Buffalo River, turn it into a national river, which they did.
Yeah.
I took my book out there with the kids in the woods. We sit down for lunch, and I pull it out to show Ken, and he just laughs, but he's sitting there talking with the kids. The kids are wanting to see the pictures and stuff like that. It was a special moment for me to have all of those kids with Ken and realize that they were in the presence of royalty.
Yeah. Here's the guy that made this happen.
Like, here's one of the guys.
One of the guys that made this so you could be here right now and enjoy it.
He and Dr. and I used to get Dr. Compton to come and talk with kids too. But both of those guys are very, self-effacing and, I was just part of it. But these people really did all the work.
Yeah.
No, they were the major players, but they're humble and they want to give credit to everybody that was involved.
So cool.
Yeah.
So cool. Going back to your route.
Yeah.
How did you map it? So you said that you actually haven't even ridden the entire thing. So if someone is out there right now listening, they're like, dude, I got an idea for a route.
Yeah.
How did you map it?
I got a Delorme, the Gazetteer.
Yeah.
And sat down with a highlighter. And I should have brought the original with me today because there's some places where every road in the whole area has got a different color of highlighter on it, because I'd think, oh, this is going to be great here. Then I'd go drive it. No, there's got to be something better. So then I'd take a highlighter and mark the next road over. And that's another reason that the route kind of twists and turns around, is I tried to find the best roads, If I could go gravel instead of pavement, I would do that.
Yeah.
If I could go pavement that has very little traffic as opposed to pavement that has more, I would do that. So
that's great.
Me and my wife would just get in the truck and take off driving and go check out a new section as I got it all laced together.
Mm-hmm. So you would put it on a map. Obviously, you're very familiar with the area.
Yeah.
So you started off with just a basic map.
Yeah.
Marked it, and then you went in. Have you driven the entire thing in entirety now?
Oh yeah, I did, and the portions that I can't drive, I've ridden. So it was my wife and I had a nice weekend up here riding the Greenway and mapping it because
you did it all in a weekend.
Yeah, from Fayetteville to Bentonville anyway.
Okay.
And we had to stop at every intersection and take pictures that were geotagged, and I had to talk into the GPS unit with a recorder.
Yeah.
So every intersection I'd have to stop, take pictures, and then talk to it and say, at this point, continue straight on the Greenway. Do not turn right onto the side trail that goes to,
Right.
So it took us a while. We weren't going real fast, but we rode all the way up. What we did is parked a car at Bentonville, came back down to Fayetteville and started. And so we made it to Lowell the first day and stayed in a hotel, which my wife likes. And then from Lowell, then we went on and finished it up to Bentonville the next day, and then we were done. So we did it in 2 days.
That's cool that your wife bikes too, though.
And when you ask her, she's going to say, no, I'm not a cyclist. What she means is she's not an idiot like me. But we've done the Katy Trail in Missouri.
Oh, yeah.
And then
I'd love to do. I haven't done it yet, but
it's beautiful.
We talk about doing it. It'd be nice to do.
It's a great place to take somebody like my wife who says she's not a cyclist.
Or even like my family. I could pull my daughter behind me on the trailer.
Exactly.
And that kind of stuff,
Yeah. It's great. It's a lot of fun. And we stayed in bed and breakfast when we were doing it.
Yeah.
It's great.
Cool. So in conjunction with ACA putting out the route, I think on the exact same day, bikepacking.com released a portion of the route that Logan Watts did.
Yeah. And they were working together on that, the guys at Adventure Cycling were working with Logan. Yeah, I get this. it's funny how often I get emails and calls now, and it's like, hey, can you tell me about the route? You know, so here's this guy from Bikepack. Oh, really? Bikepacking.com. And I'm going to come ride your route. Well, that's cool. He was coming back from California, you know, so he had a couple of days when he was going to ride. But, yeah, he rode what we're calling the Northwest Loop. You know, instead of just one big loop like I envisioned it, Carla, who's in charge of the development at Adventure Cycling, she said, well, you know, right there at Russellville, you're pretty close to Conway. Could you come up with a connector and make a south loop?
Yeah.
So, sure, I could do that. So we took it right across Petit Jean State Park, Arkansas's first state park. Ran it right across Petit Jean, and we created what I call Carla's Cutoff. And then the next summer, when we were doing the northern part, I noticed that, man, at Red Star, we're really close to OARC, and there's a great gravel road that connects the two of them. So we could cut it off right there, and we could actually turn this thing into 3 loops.
Nice.
So people could tackle it by, you know, they could do the whole perimeter, which was the way I first envisioned it, or they could take it one loop at a time. So that it increases the number of options that people have.
Yeah, I think I'm a one loop at a time kind of guy.
So what he did is he rode the what we call the Northwest Loop, and it's I'm pulling a map out here for you listeners, but yeah, so he rode this loop right here, and the distance is on the front of the map.
250.
It's 237.6 miles. Yeah. So he rode that one. So he got to see White Rock Mountain. He got to see Red Star. He got to see the area around King River Falls. He got to go through Eureka Springs, which is just a fabulous little town.
We went there on a honeymoon.
Oh, really?
Great. Yeah, it's a great little town. We went there on a honeymoon.
Yeah, my wife and I did too. We stayed in the Crescent. Yeah, we stayed in the Crescent.
We
like
stayed
3 or
in
4
some
days.
cabins. I can't remember the name of the cabins, but it was a beautiful cabin, super remote, nice lake, super peaceful. It was great.
Yeah. So he rode that, and then wrote a great article on bikepacking about it.
Yeah, definitely go check it out.
Yeah.
Great pictures. Logan Watts, bikepacking.com.
Oh, man, he's a photographer, isn't he?
Yeah. I guess. I mean, his pictures look good.
His pictures were great.
But yeah, bikepacking.com, obviously. ACA, bikepacking.com.
Yep.
I mean, you can retire now, right? Like, what else is left?
That's
Who else
right.
is going to publish your route? You're on bikepacking.com and
Well,
ACA.
how about Outside Magazine? I hear a rumor.
Oh. You want to talk about that, or is it just a rumor?
It's just a rumor right now, but I hear a rumor that Outside Magazine might be interested in it. So,
Man, more power to you. What's it like, man? I mean, you just had an idea,
yeah,
and kind of ran with it and threw it out there, and to see it as well received as it's been received. I mean, what is that like?
I'm still kind of in shock that it did happen this way. I mean, if I didn't think they would have thought about it, I wouldn't have ever called them, you know? So I knew it was a great idea.
Right.
But the other thing is to see it happen this fast, you know. But when the state of Arkansas, with Joe Jacobs and the Arkansas Parks and Tourism, when they showed an interest in it, and then when the Walton Family Foundation showed an interest in it, you know, that's what really created this quick timeline that we've seen. It happened so fast. I was thinking, you know, we might be on their schedule to develop this thing in 10 years, but no, it happened real fast. They got it published and got it out there.
Man, again, kudos to everybody kudos to you for having the idea and reaching out to ACA, and for them to be interested in the Waltons and Arkansas, the state of Arkansas, to back you up and to promote it and to push it through the pipeline.
It's been pretty cool.
I mean, it's so cool.
Yeah.
And it never would have happened. Well, maybe it would have happened. Maybe it would have happened one day, but
maybe
it happened right now because you were willing to have the idea, or you had the idea. You called them and you made something happen.
It's pretty funny how it's all happened. Crazy is the word I just keep using.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, man.
Crazy.
But it happened.
That's all. Hey, man. However it happens, it happens. It's here now.
That's right.
It's not going to go anywhere.
No
matter what happens, that route will always be there.
Yeah.
Someone can go ride it.
That's right.
That's awesome. So talking about the route a little bit, like what bike is the right bike to use, or maybe you could talk a little bit about your setup.
Man, trying to tell somebody what bike they ought to ride is like telling them what kind of woman they ought to marry, you know?
Yes, sir.
But I'm riding a Trek Checkpoint, and a big reason that I'm riding that is because my local bike shop carries Trek, you know?
And what is a Checkpoint? Is that more of a gravel?
It's a gravel, yeah, but it doesn't have that race geometry. The heck, Gary Verdon's been riding it on a Salsa Warbird, which has got that race geometry, and he's put all the luggage on it and just loved it.
Yeah.
But I'm riding a Checkpoint. One of the things I found out on the Tour Divide is I don't do well on drop bars on gravel. So I had cyclist palsy, man, and my hands were just numb. Couldn't even tie my shoes.
Yeah, wow.
So what I've done is put flat bars on there with the ergo grips. And then I also put the horns on the side so I can change my grip around.
Right.
You know, a lot of people do those Jones bars, which that might be an option too.
That's what I have. My wife and I just switched to Jones
You like
bars. All right. I'm 50-50. I like them for long distance bike packing.
Mm-hmm.
They offer more. So if you have drop bars, then you're limited on your width.
Yeah.
If you have a bedroll up there or whatever, you're limited on your width. With Jones bars, it solves that. Jones bars have a lot of hand options that you don't realize.
Yeah.
You can go narrow. You can spread your hands out. You can put your forearms on the two bars up front. You got lots of hand positions on the grips.
Yep.
So the way I look at it is like the perfect world for me on my touring or bike packing bike, Jones bars, anything I'm going to be riding with gear and loaded down and for long distances, I think Jones bars are the way to go for me.
Yeah.
And then maybe for like a gravel bike / just around town bike, I want to get another one and put the wood chippers back on there.
Yeah, wood chippers are great, man.
They're just fun.
Yeah, they are. They feel great because you get in the drops, but your hands are spread out, so you got some leverage for.
Yeah, I miss them, but I don't. I need another bike. That's the problem. So
that's always a problem, right?
But I think they're good. And my wife has lots of shoulder pains. That's what she struggles with.
Yeah.
And she just switched to the Jones bars. I just put them on her bike, and so far no pain.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. I put comfort as a priority on long trips.
No kidding.
Because if you're going to be in the saddle a really long time and you want to be enjoying it, speed is great, but for me personally, the comfort is the most important thing. So the longer you can stay in the saddle, the more miles you can put in, the more you're going to enjoy it.
Yep, no doubt.
And the only way, everybody's different, so you just got to try and see what works for you.
Yep.
So,
but this Checkpoint has got the way, and I'm just reading all this. I'm really not that much of a gearhead.
I'm not either.
But they told me, well, this has got the endurance geometry instead of the geometry for racing. And so I got that, and I got the carbon. I wanted to go lighter, especially because I'm looking at this race that's coming up this summer, and so I bought it last summer so I could ride it a whole year, and get all my luggage on it and go camping with it. Get real comfortable with it,
Mm-hmm.
So my modification was that I put the flat bars on it. I also got a bigger cassette in the back. I didn't get one of those trash can lids that's 50-toother, but I'm still running 2 on the front.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I'm running I think 38 on the back, 37 or 38. I'd have to ask my wrench guy.
Yeah.
But I like that combination. It's not nearly like when you have the 3 on the front on a mountain bike, and then you can just sit there and spin and not go anywhere. It's not that kind of a ratio, but still, when I climbed Poto Mountain the other day, I thought, and I had luggage on. I thought, this is what I want,
Yeah.
I'm strong enough to climb this with this gear. I don't need anything bigger on the back, so it worked out.
Yeah, the only way you're going to figure that out is just by going and riding it, what
Yeah.
gears you should be running, and it's going to change from route to route.
It is.
It
is.
What about your tires?
I'm running 37s. I'm running a WTB Riddler.
Yeah, I used to have that tire.
Yeah, and it looks a lot like a Riddler from Maxxis, which is they got a different spelling for Riddler, but so it's it's not real aggressive. It's not real knobby.
Yeah.
But it's got enough grip that it can, and they make it in different sizes too. I saw that they got a 45. Some people might like that and get a little more cushion.
Right.
Because I'm not running any shocks, you know. I'm running a rigid carbon fork. But the 37 rattles me on some of the roads, especially some of the downhills. I can't descend as fast as I could if I had a fatter tire or shocks, like a Lao, for however you say that for the front fork.
I think
can't
it's
ever
Lao,
pronounce
yeah.
it. Yeah. The Lao front fork, man, that'd be sweet.
Right.
But so I'm giving up something there, but it's 50% road.
That's what you got to keep in mind. That's what I was wondering.
It's 50% road, so I might lose a little bit, but I think I'm going to gain it back on the roads and on the smooth gravel. And honestly, most of this route is going to be good smooth gravel, and there's going to be spots that are rough, you know. So, and I'm riding, I've got a seat pack, got a Revelate design seat pack, and then I got a knockoff for a frame pack because I started looking at the frame packs from Revelate Design and some of the others. I was looking at measuring the angles on them, and none of them would fit. I was going to have something custom made, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
So I found this one on Amazon for $35, and I thought, well, if it tears up.
Worst case scenario is $35.
So I got it in the mail, and I looked at it. The seams are great. The seams are wonderful. The zippers were terrible. I thought, that zipper's not going to last. It's Moose Trex is the name of it.
Okay.
So sure enough, 1 month I blew out one of the zippers, so I went back to Amazon, bought some YKK zippers and hand sewed them in, and so it's bulletproof now.
Awesome, love it.
Great seams, great zippers. And then in my cockpit I've got, I got my Garmin up front, and then I've got Revelate Design, what do they call them, the feed bags? Yeah, they're called feed bags, one on each side. I've got a little top tube bag that's an off-brand, but I can put my phone in it, and then I can also unzip it and have food in there. So I got food and phone right there in front of me.
Yeah.
And then I have another top tube bag that's under the seat, and that's going to be for like my wallet, stuff like that. But
where do you put your tools?
My tools are in the bottom of my frame pack because it fills the whole triangle. Yeah.
Okay.
And that checkpoint's got mounts on the forks. So for this race, what I did was I got 2 quart-and-a-half Nalgene, big Nalgenes, because we're riding in June. So I got those big Nalgenes so that I can put those on the front fork. I got an anything cage that I can strap them into.
Right.
A Revelate Design anything cage. So that's my basic setup.
Is it a salsa anything cage or a
Salsa? I'm sorry, salsa anything.
Okay,
cage,
right. Yeah. I just want to check. I'm not a super gearhead either, so.
I think you're right. It's salsa. That's right.
Yeah, I'm kind of like you. I rely on my bike shop and people that know more. The way I look at it is like there's people who are out there who have already figured that stuff out.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna gobble up whatever knowledge they have. And,
Yeah, just ask them.
Yeah, it works pretty well. And you got to figure out some stuff for yourself, and you'll
Yeah.
kind of adjust as needed. But
You got to know what fits.
are you tent camping or hammock camping, or what's your sleep system like?
Well, in the winter, I'm just going to tarp. I quit carrying a tent years ago. I went back to a tarp when I was backpacking. So, and in the summer I will hammock. So, in June for the race, I bought a little bitty hammock. It's a Hummingbird.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the thing, like 3.5 ounces. It's stupid.
Whoa.
How light it is. And then the
Mine is
straps that
6
come
ounces, and that was supposed to be light.
and then the straps that come with it are like 8mm climbing strap
Right.
for hanging it. Yeah, little tiny stuff.
That's what I have too. Yeah.
And then I've got I think it's Gossamer Gear tarp, which doesn't weigh much. But up here you got to have a bug net too. So
For what?
for mosquitoes, for buffalo gnats.
Buffalo gnats.
Yeah.
What are those?
Well, they're little spawns of Satan that will bite you, especially this time of year you get out in the woods.
Really?
Yeah, so I really want a bug net when I'm doing that in June.
Okay.
But in the wintertime, I don't take the hammock, and I take my sleeping pad then, just a little Thermarest sleeping pad, and sleep on the ground because then you don't have the cold air underneath you.
Mm-hmm.
So in the winter, I usually take a bottomless sleeping bag from Go Light that I've had for obviously quite a while. They've been out of business for a while. But in the summertime, I'm just going to take this puffy jacket that I'm wearing, and a pair of tights, and a poncho in the hammock. So that's what I'll wrap up in. There's no need for a sleeping bag
exactly
in June,
Yeah.
And if I get too cold, I'll just get up and get on the bike and start riding.
Preach. Yeah, that's what you do. Oh, I'm cold, I can't sleep. Well, you might as well be riding
That's
if
right.
you're not sleeping.
Yeah,
put
in the
some
winter
miles.
I'd build a fire, but in the summer I'm going to get up and ride.
Yeah. Well, why don't we you were talking about the race. So
Yep.
I think that's on June 8th, right?
We start on June 8th, and we're starting right at the Clinton Presidential Center in Little Rock. So we'll start and finish there. There's actually a pedestrian bridge right there that connects Little Rock to North Little Rock at the Clinton Center. So it's called the Clinton Bridge. So we're starting at the Little Rock side of the Clinton Bridge, sun up on June the 8th.
And how many miles will that route be? Because you're going to do the whole thing, right?
Yeah, 1,034.
1,034.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that number varies a little bit depending on which map system that you use. You know, I did it on MapQuest.
So it's basically a 1,000-mile route.
It's 1,000-mile ride, 1,030 something. 79,000 feet of climbing.
Okay.
So pretty challenging, but we're gonna, and we're not charging entry fee. We've got sponsors that are covering everything. We hope maybe the racers will throw a little money in the hat to help the club. The club that's hosting is my home club, which is the River Valley chapter of the Ozark Off-Road Cyclists, and we're an IMBA club. So we hope everybody will throw down a little money, because we're just going to meet budget with the sponsors that we got.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the club ought to have some money for building trail out of this, don't you think? So,
Yeah.
So when we have our pre-race meeting, we're going to set out the mason jar and try to get people to stuff money in it.
Yeah,
and
I'm
get
sure
the
they
club
will.
going.
I'm sure they will. I'm
too.
sure they'll see the value in that.
Cyclists are cool.
They are. And they want, this is what they want. You
Yeah.
know, they want people like you and clubs and organizations and states and cities to get behind it. And
Yep.
you know, they always say you vote with your dollars. So
Yep.
gotta.
Well, we're using track leaders. So the guy, they're providing the spot units.
Yeah.
So folks will be able to watch the race with.
I love dot watching.
Oh yeah, I've been watching Rebecca's all week. She's still a little south of town. I just checked a minute ago. We're using track leaders, and then we're requiring selfies. So folks have to take selfies along the route. You know, if somebody misses a selfie, we're going to tell them, don't turn around and go back. But come on, don't miss 2 or 3 of them, you know?
Yeah. And the selfies are in certain locations?
Yeah, we have specified spots where they got to take a selfie. So they serve as like a
checkpoint kind of?
Yeah, they're like a virtual checkpoint.
You don't really need it, obviously, with track leader, but
Right.
it's kind of fun.
Exactly. So the people who are at home, we're doing this for the people at home.
Yeah.
The folks who are watching the dots, now they're going to be able to go on the Facebook page for the race and be able to see a picture of their
Love
loved
that.
one in the center. And we've given them a lot of leeway, because a selfie could mean, well, you just take a picture of your bike. Or it doesn't have to be a selfie where you're standing there with a stupid grin. You get somebody standing right there to take the picture for you, you know.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be cool. It's going to give us a bunch of pictures of the route.
I think that is a fantastic idea, because it's something I tried to do whenever I did the 500 race that I did.
Yeah.
Was update people via social media.
Yep.
Because like you watch the dots, there's a lot of us dot watchers out there,
Yeah.
but you kind of want to be able to see
Yep.
what's going on. And,
Yep.
I mean, that is a really great way to, like, no racer is going to be penalized for doing it
Right.
and taking that time to do it, because everybody is supposed to do it.
Yeah.
And then it gives the people watching a little bit more excitement about what's going on and connecting with the participants and stuff. So,
But if somebody skips all of the checkpoints, we're going to put icy hot into their chamois butter. So they better take some selfies and post them up there.
whose
for us.
idea was that? Was that your idea?
It was my idea, and I found out that there's some racers in Florida that have been doing it for a while.
Okay.
But I don't have many original ideas. I steal most of the ideas. But
Well, most people do. I mean, in the day and age we live in, with all the information out there, it's
That's
like
right.
you're not reinventing the wheel. You're just like
that's right.
making a slight variation
Tweaking
on
it.
something, tweaking it. Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. But I mean, I can tell you, I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
I've dot watched quite a few races, and then
Yeah.
you go to their Facebook and you kind of follow up
Exactly.
with, you connect the Facebook with the dot watching or
Yep.
the Instagram, and you kind of you're following along that way.
Yep.
But to have it more in like a centralized location where you can go to what is your Facebook?
It's just look for Arkansas High Country Race on Facebook.
Yeah. You go there.
Yep.
So while you got your Arkansas High Country Race Facebook page up, you're going to
Mm-hmm.
get some updates there, and then you got the track leaders pulled up on the other screen. And
My daughter tells me that we could create an Instagram and have them go over there automatically. So I'm going to see if she'll do that for me. But I'm not much of an Instagrammer, so I don't know how that works.
I'm reversed. I'm an Instagrammer who pushes everything to Facebook, and you're a Facebooker that can push everything to Instagram.
Well, I
but
can't push anything yet. My daughter said
Your
she'd
daughter
help me.
will. Yeah.
That's right.
It's actually quite easy. She'll be
Okay,
fine. Yeah.
good.
Don't let her impress you. Like, don't let her. Don't pay her. Don't like knock her chores off the list or
Okay.
anything like that.
All
Like,
right.
It's literally like a switch of the button.
All right, very good.
Pro tip.
That's right.
All right, so the race is June 8th.
Yep.
Leaving at sunrise.
Yep.
Got to take some selfies.
Yep.
Man, what else? I guess they're going to be racing against Rebecca's time, whatever time she puts up.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and there's some guys that are going to be here that are pretty darn fast. Remember the name Mike Dickin, the guy that I sat at Banff and talked,
Yeah.
Arkansas kid, he's from Russellville.
Yeah.
He's coming. He just finished third in the Arizona Trail Race.
Hoorah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And he's coming. Robert Orr out of Hot Springs is a beast. Those of us who are old remember the Eco Challenge. And, Rebecca Rush was on
I know.
teams in the adventure races back in the Eco Challenge.
Dude, I'm old enough to where I had every single Eco Challenge on VHS, and I wore them out. Mark Burnett produced them.
There you
Survivor
go.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Team Traveler. Team Traveler was one of the teams they were perennial contenders.
Yes.
Well, they're from Arkansas. It's Arkansas Travelers, so they were Team Travelers.
Awesome.
Yeah. And Robert
Yeah.
Orr is 60. He's the national, I'll try to get it right. I think it's the national endurance mountain biking champion from 2018. But Robert's going to ride the race. I mean, he's got to be a contender for winning the darn thing and getting the buckle.
Yeah. Awesome. So you're opening up to 50 people this first round.
Yeah.
Is it full?
No, we got 30. We got 35 right now.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, come on, people. We can do
Oh, I
better.
gotta throw
I
another
feel like I'm
name
in
out.
a fundraiser right now.
No
or
kidding.
a telethon. All right, people, call now. There's only 15 spots left. The Arkansas High Country Race is going out hot. It's going out hot.
David Horton is going to ride this race.
Okay, who's he?
Yeah. You need to do your background research, man. David Horton is the man.
Okay.
Um,
I have a bad memory, so it's possible I've heard of him and watched videos and I just forgot. But yeah.
You ever watch the video about the Berkeley Marathon?
Oh yeah.
He was the second finisher of the Berkeley Marathon.
For 19 or 18 or what year?
Oh no, I'm talking the second finisher. I mean the second person ever to finish it. Like
sorry.
15,
I was
20
thinking
years
second
ago.
place.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was the second person to ever finish the darn thing.
Okay.
How many
Respect.
people have finished it? Like maybe 10?
Yeah, I mean,
He
it's not
said-
uncommon. I think it's more common for people to not finish it
Exactly.
than to finish, right? So.
Exactly. Very few people ever finish it. But David set the speed record running the Appalachian Trail I think it's almost 30 years ago. And then he turned around and set the speed record for the Pacific Crest Trail running it. So that's his outdoor credentials. He started as an ultra runner, right? He's on a bike now because he's had some knee replacements.
What an interesting
he's
parallel to you.
69 years old.
And you still think he's going to set the fastest time?
No, but he's
he's
doing
won
it.
Yeah.
He's going to do it, man. He's 69.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
He's going to set the record for 69-year-olds.
Do you know Hal Russell up in Missouri,
Yeah.
not too far from here?
Yeah.
I'm going to be interviewing him in a few weeks.
Really?
And he's one of my personal heroes. He's
Get
about,
me a coffee mug when you interview him. You know
Okay.
he makes
Yeah.
coffee mugs?
Yeah.
See if you can buy a coffee mug from
Okay.
me. I'll buy it from you.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do. He's a great guy. He raced with me in the 500, and me and him, we raced against each other quite a bit. We were passing and leapfrogging each other a bunch. And I'm going to be interviewing him, but he's one of my heroes.
Oh, he's a great guy.
I don't even think he got into cycling until he's about your age.
Yeah.
And he's done Tour Divide 6 times, I think. And
Yeah.
he's not done. He's 70 years old. He's just getting started. He's
Yep.
warming up. So I got mad respect for those guys that are older and out there getting it done, because that's what I want to be. Like,
Yeah.
Right now I'm in pretty good shape, but it's not always going to be like that.
That's
right.
right.
Like, I look up to those guys that are out there and still making it happen and not taking the freaking go-kart at the supermarket to get the groceries or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. They're good guys.
Yeah, they are. So if anyone wants to sign up for the Arkansas High Country Race, just go to Facebook or what?
That's right. All they got to do is go on Facebook and then send me a message there.
Yeah.
And all I'm going to need is their name and their email address and where they're from. And then I'll send them an email to confirm that they are hooked up. We're going to open up the registration with track leaders here in a couple of weeks. The dudes at Track Leaders said, if we do it farther out than 2 weeks, then folks start changing their mind, or but 2 weeks out, they think that's the optimum.
Okay.
So we're going to open that up, and they'll have to go on, register with Track Leaders to get their spot reserved. The spots are all going to come to us in a box. We'll hand them out at the pre-race meeting, and on the 7th, the night before. So we'll hand them out and start the race in Little Rock on Saturday morning, the 8th.
Awesome. And if people want to follow you, are you you're a little bit hard to find. I know from getting ready for this interview, I have to say this. So I finally found you on Facebook.
Okay.
Chuck Campbell on Facebook.
Yep.
But there's a lot of Chuck Campbells on Facebook.
I imagine.
But you're so what was the word you used earlier? Self-facing?
Self-effacing? Yeah, I was talking
Self-effacing?
about Ken and Neil.
You posted your own route that you spent years and years developing with 0 words, I believe. It was just a link to the route, to the ACA and to bikepacking.com, and that's all it was. There was no, hey, guys, look at what I've been working on the last few years or anything like that.
It's about all these other people, too. I mean, it's about Joe Jacobs and the rest of the people at the state. Grady Spann, who's the director for the state parks. And it's about Gary Vernon, talking to the people at the Walton Family Foundation saying, hey, this guy wants to do this route. And it's about all of those people making it happen. And Carla Majernik, who believed that it would work. And Travis, who came down and became a believer overnight when I convinced him, And it's about Michael Dickin, who kept telling me we got to have Forest Road 1003 in there. So it's about all those people too,
Yeah.
It's
self-effacing.
It's pretty cool.
Self-effacing. No, I mean, I agree. Everybody who was involved, kudos to all y'all, and you deserve some as well.
Well, I appreciate
it. So is maybe email a better way to find? I mean, good luck finding him. He's on Facebook.
Yeah.
Chuck Campbell.
Yeah.
He has a goatee, so that's your tip if you want to find him on Facebook. What's your email address?
Because I got 2 scars on both knobs of my chin, I will never shave my chin again.
Hey, whatever works, man. It looks great.
Bicycle scars from endos.
Those are badges of honor, man. Let them shine.
But yeah, they could. And once they find me on Facebook and send me a message, then through and they can find me at, I'm running the Arkansas High Country page on Facebook too.
Okay.
So if they find that, then they could send me a message there, and then they've found me.
And what's your email?
It's Chuck E. Campbell, all one word, Chuck E. like Edward, Chuck E. Campbell @hotmail.com. So.
Great.
Yep.
Man, thank you so much for everything. Thanks for having the idea and kind of lighting a fire, man. There's not anything until somebody lights that spark, and you lit a spark, and you definitely gave due credit to everybody else who was involved. But you started that spark, so. And
it's turned into a bonfire now.
Freaking bonfire, man. Let's get off this thing and check track leader, or not track leader, but let's check where Rebecca's at.
I've got to find her on Garmin. That's right. Garmin tracking.
On Garmin, and let's see if she's coming through. We'll give her a high five as she rolls through.
All right, very good.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on. All right, man. I hope y'all enjoyed that. Chuck's like a real down-to-earth, good old boy, and I appreciate that. Coming from Texas, like our personalities just matched real well, both real laid back, and I was admiring his it's like a early 90s Chevy truck. Not a fancy guy or anything, just a simple old country boy putting out bikepacking routes. what's better than that, right? So I love all the diversity of, he's definitely not the type of person like you might picture as going out and developing an awesome route. But that's what makes it cool, right? So I'm personally like pretty stoked to get out there and check that route out, and I hope a lot of other people will too. All right. Well, again, don't forget to head over to Patreon. Oh, it's so confusing because I finally figured this out. The website is Patreon, and if you contribute, then you're a patron. And so I'm going to fuck that up probably a lot. But anyway, head over to Patreon, and I got the stickers and I got patches on the way. I got those new tiers set up so you can go over there and get in on that. All right, thanks everyone. Oh, and don't forget to review it and go ride your damn bike.